Hey guys, AirSofttalk. I'm Delta One, you know that, and today I'm doing a review on Systema. Yes, I know my first video failed epically and was horrible and only lasted 27 seconds. Now, before you watch this, watch the entire video before asking a question, and don't be a troll. Now, I just have to flash this off. The mag-pulled PTS, or whatever it's called, PTRS. Very nice rifle. Anyways, Systema, you're probably not going to like what I have to say about them. For one, my experiences with Systema, I'm going to list this. I had a M140 spring in my $1,200 G3 with Systema gears, GMP piston, a deep fire piston, no, Systema bore-up piston head, a Systema cylinder head, a Systema cylinder, and a garter tappet plate, garter bushings, and a CA shell, and a Systema Magnum motor. Now, and I had a Systema spring guide. Now, I'm pulling all this back. I'm only using a 9.6, and it bent the gear on the motor, the pinion gear. And that's depressing. And it was perfectly tuned. That's terrible. Why is it that happened? Because I know for a fact that I knew they weren't that great, but I didn't think they were that bad. But anyways, moving on. Systema cons, expensive. Not meant for an airsofter. Systema was not made for airsofting. It wasn't made for us in mind. It was made for military and law enforcement agencies. And half the time, they don't even use them because there's so much. Because everyone's using KWA. That's just how it is. But what Systema did do that was nice is that they put this simple cylinder change. That's amazing. I'm so glad they did that. They were revolutionary for their time. I will give them that. But honestly, guys, who's going to pay, a ridiculous amount for a Systema? Unless you are a pretty much, in law enforcement or military training, because their cheapest gun is $995. Their M16s are $1495. M4 $1495. 1555, 1680, 1495 again, and 1099 and 1495. That's a lot of money to shell out for a gun. And personally, I'm more about helping the customer and saving the customer money. So if I had a law enforcement agency come to me, I would tell them to use GMP or KWA. But again, Systema was not designed for airsofters in mind. It was designed, its sole purpose was for military and law enforcement use only. Now, yes, they've had made some good parts in the past, but recently, their quality has gone down on their gears, which is really aggravating to me. Sorry, it's bugging me. Okay, and I don't know why. That it could just be me. If I'm wrong, tell me, because I'm hitting problems with their gears too. And their pistons aren't as good as GMP. I'm going to say that from a professional standpoint of view. GMP does make the best pistons. Their motors they're not as cracked up as they're all meant to be. GMP does whatever you need it to do for a cheaper price. I honestly, Systema makes good magnets in their motors, but when it comes to the gear, they used to be good 2 years ago, but then all of a sudden they just went kaboom. And plus, it's like, when is your average Joe that has a family and a newborn daughter going to be able to buy a $1,500 Systema? Just blows my mind why you would spend that much. I'm the type of guy that will shell out that much money, but I'm getting a custom HK21E support weapon made specifically for me. But I'm shelling out $1,500 for that. Or somewhere in that area. That was an estimated price quote. It's probably going to be more than that. But honestly, final review, Systema, for what it was designed and made for, I'm going to give it a 7 3/4 because, one, it's solid build, It was designed, and they're so complicated. Another thing, I'm actually going to put off the final thing. They're very complicated. They decided to put in another gear, and when you put more parts in, more moving parts means more room for error. Plus, you have to shim it again, and it's just like... And you have a computer chip. Now, that's another thing that's very aggravating, is because when you put the computer chip in there, it just makes everything is just more complicated. You have to use specific magazines for them, which is that's not a big deal, but when they cost a lot, it is. Now it's nice that when you shoot it and you dry fire, you don't run out of ammo. It just stops shooting, which is very nice. But I'm a high cap person. I know I'll get yelled at for that, but I gotta have high caps. The only time I'll ever use mid caps is in close quarters. But still, I mean, Systema, what it was designed for and what it's meant to do, it's 7 3/4. Parts-wise, they're okay, but for how much you're paying, it's not worth it, in my opinion. In all honesty, I would love to sell Systema weapons. I have no problem with Systema weapons. For what you're paying for, it seems quite a bit. But, you know, it's a Systema. You get what you pay for. It's going to be the most realistic one in terms of body and operation wise. So what it was designed for, it's a 7 3/4 to an 8 because of what it was designed for. They weren't designed for you and me. They were designed for law enforcement and military agencies. So final conclusion, 7 3/4, and yeah, you get the point. An 8, 7 3/4 to an 8. So that's been my review system. I know this one's a little bit short, guys. I just don't really have that much to say about them, but yeah. So, this has been AirSofttalk with you of Systema. Thanks for watching. Damn trolls.